Let's move on then. Joining us on the show today, we have a very special guest, Mr. Keki Mistry, the Vice Chairman and CEO of HDFC. Mr. Mistry, thanks so much for joining us on this big day today, our 16th birthday.
First of all, let me wish you and wish everyone at CNBC a very, very happy 16th birthday, and also wish all of you the very best for the coming year.
Okay. Thank you, sir, for joining in. Let me begin with the credit policy and the cost of money. There hasn't been, it's been a no-action policy, no change in rates, but at least the CP markets seem a bit benign. Has the cost of money gone down for you, at least in Q3?
Q3 cost of money would definitely be lower than Q2, but if you're looking at Q2, you're looking at a period which is for 3 months. So the last 1 month of that quarter, rates had come down, and from that time till now, I don't think there's been much of a change in rates.
All right, sir, in Q2, your loan growth was the slowest we've seen in the last few quarters. Is Q3 likely to be any better?
I can't comment on the third quarter, Lata, because, now we don't talk of anything which is not in public domain. But let me explain the second quarter numbers. Second quarter loan book growth was weak on the non-individual category. And the non-individual category has been weak for a long time now. But if you look at the individual loan book, and if we add back the loans we sold in the last 12 months, then the individual loan book actually grew by 23%, which is exactly the kind of growth we had in the previous quarter also. It's just that the quantum of loans that we are selling has increased. So as against selling some 7,000 crores of loans in the previous year, this year in the 12 months up to September, we had sold loans aggregating to nearly, if I recall right, close to 11,000 crores. So because the quantum of loans sold was high, the on-balance sheet growth of the loan book looked lower.
Okay. What about the non-individual loans? Because that also is not growing, and that is concerning investors. Have you seen any improvement in that, sir, at all?
We are seeing green shoots. I mean, it's not that the growth is not there. Part of the reason why the growth is also lower is a little bit of risk averseness on our part, where we are a little more sort of watchful in giving some kinds of loans, and also a slowdown in the investment cycle. So with the slowdown in the investment cycle, companies are not investing as much as they used to in earlier years, not in recent times, but say 5, 6, 7 years ago. So since they are not investing that much, the demand for commercial real estate is relatively lower, and therefore the non-individual book has been growing at a slower pace. Now, we have started seeing in the last 1 or 2 quarters some signs of some distinct signs of a pickup, but it takes a while after that pickup for it to translate into loan book growth. So I can't give you quarters, but I would be very surprised if 3 or 4 quarters from now we don't see the non-individual book growing at a much faster pace, simply because the base has not increased by as much as the individual base has increased, and there is obviously a pent-up growth that will come in.
Okay, sir, could you tell us why was Standard Life's proposal deferred by the FIPB?
I have my sense is that they were not fully conversant with what IRDA had approved earlier. My understanding is that IRDA has approved the transaction, and with IRDA approval, it goes to FIPB. I don't know why FIPB deferred it. My only sense we get is that probably FIPB was not fully informed about the fact that IRDA had approved the transaction. But my sense is the next time FIPB has the meeting, this transaction should go through. So our expectation is that in the coming quarter, when I say coming quarter, I mean Jan to March, this transaction should be completed, and thereafter we would look to file for an IPO. So the original expectation that in 2016 we would do an IPO is still very much on. When I say 2016, I mean the year starting April 16, as we've always said.
Okay, so Standard Life should get the approval by Q1 of calendar year 16, and then we should see the IPO sometime next year. Okay, so just one final question. The ECB rules have been eased. Would it be easier for you now to raise loans?
Not really, not directly, but we had the external commercial borrowing window where we used to raise money for affordable housing, and there we had raised about $500 million a few months ago. So that transaction was completed, and now we are looking at doing this masala bond. And as far as the masala bond is concerned, or the rupee-denominated bond, as is the right word for it, the rupee-denominated bond is concerned, we have met investors in Hong Kong, in Singapore, in London. This was a very preparatory kind of a meeting, a very preliminary meeting where we went without a prospectus. It was a non-deal roadshow just to gauge the kind of demand that there is. And the sense we very distinctly get is that there is demand. It's a new instrument. Investors need to spend a little time to get comfortable with the instrument, but clearly the interest in the instrument is very high. But the only thing is, at this moment, people are a little uncertain on how to price in the risk. I would say that the fact that RBI has now permitted Indian companies to issue rupee-denominated bonds reflects RBI's confidence in being able to manage the currency.
All right. Thanks so much, sir, for joining in today. I appreciate it, joining us on our big day. That's our birthday.